Hey guys, this is Neena Perez, and this is Straight Talk, no sugar added. Thank you so much for being here. This show is created to discuss life topics to challenge and transform your thinking. And today I have someone who, he's going to transform your thinking a little bit. And his name is Noel Tola. He is a mental health specialist who resides primarily in Florida, and he has an extensive experience in working with nonprofit agencies. And he is expanding his private practice and is pursuing his doctorate to reach others to expand his footprint across the US to make tomorrow a better day for others. So I'm really happy that he's here. I had a fantastic conversation with him about a week ago, and we were talking about mental health. So I want to get into that. But before we get into that, Noel, thank you so much for taking the time here to be here on a Sunday. And tell me, how's your day going?
It's going really well. First and foremost, thank you so much for having me. This is such a treat. I just got out of hair and makeup, so I'm feeling good.
Good for you. I need that. I need that. So tell us a little bit about yourself so that we can get into the topic for today.
Absolutely, absolutely. So yes, I am a mental health therapist. I currently work for a non-for-profit working with a very specific population of parents who have DCF involvement and then also struggle with a substance abuse problem.
Mm.
So that was that has been such great, rich experience. Yeah, and that's a little bit about me.
That's it. Okay, that's all we're getting. Got it. So tell me something though. That's very interesting, and I'm wondering if you've seen a change, right, with the pandemic, of an increase in that, in like substance abuse and parents with like DCF and stuff like that. And I don't know if that's exactly the practice that you're going to be opening and running. So we'll talk about that. But I was just curious about the pandemic and how it's affected a lot of people. I've noticed that there's been a lot of mental health, and that's why I myself got into being a neuro-linguistic programmer, because I want to help people get through everything they've gone through this last year. It's been quite a lot.
It has been. It definitely has been. So yeah, and I love that you linked it to, because I think the substance abuse is getting a new kind of view. Thankfully, a lot of the times people see it as like criminals or something like that, but in reality, substance abuse is just another coping skill. It's a really good bad coping skill. That's what I like to say.
Yeah.
So with everything going on in the world, like as you said, people are trying to look for that, quick fix for the struggles that they're feeling inside. It's people will do anything to avoid emotional pain. They'll actually rather physical pain. So yeah, anything to do to get rid of that pain. But the good part is too, I think like you said, I think the word is getting out there about like people getting help, and that's becoming less stigmatized as well. Which is great for like, people, because we're wired to be with people, so yeah, I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah, that's fine. I was just wondering if you've seen like a more of an increase during the time of the pandemic, or do you feel like it's always been like a steady issue?
Definitely an increase. However, I think the awareness behind it too is also increasing even more too, so that's what I like to focus on, because it's like they need to, it's just there's help out there,
Right.
People can have a better life, they can have a happier life, so that's what I hope to provide. And what you were saying before about my like practice that I'm opening up, I think I like to specialize in trauma. So as you said in the intro, I am getting my doctorate in trauma. So, but I think that encompasses so much, whether it be the substance use. So I don't see much of a difference, like how you ultimately get to this place of freedom, from the thought.
Are you specifically looking for a certain type of trauma, or do you feel like a lot of trauma can be I don't know the right word, but I guess counseled the same way? You know what I mean? Like, because there's the trauma of like childhood trauma or things that happened to you in the past. There's trauma with loss, right? There's a whole trauma with that. There's trauma with domestic violence. There's trauma with sexual abuse. There's like you said, trauma encompasses a lot. I think that's great that you're doing that, because there's a lot of people dealing with a lot of levels of trauma. Is there a certain type of population that you're looking towards helping with the trauma?
Yeah, so I think what I've been able to do through my experience, I've been able to find commonalities behind working with people. And I think that's been actually really helpful. So a lot of times, sometimes people don't want to focus on like the past and like what they've been through, something like that. So I don't force that. What I do find is helpful is making that therapeutic alliance. I think that's number one for me. I think building that therapeutic alliance and just having the client know that they're in a safe space to open up, to talk about some of the sensitive stuff. And if not, that's fine too. We could talk about, and from there, I like to go into like coping skills. What are your coping skills? What do you like to do? What do you like to get your mind off of things, to get your mind off of things? And again, like, I think what's most important too is just going at the client's speed. I don't try to force like, okay, no, we're talking about coping skills today. No, like if you had a bad day and you want to vent about something, go ahead, and that in and of itself is a coping skill. So, and then it's a multifaceted question that you ask, because each client is different, each person is different. They respond to different things. So sometimes they have really good coping skills, but they need to think more about their like reframing negative thoughts. And so we might spend a little more time there, whereas another person might need some help with building their coping skills, So that's where I think, going back to the beginning of the first point of making that strong therapeutic alliance, because it's important for a clinician to know when the next step is for the client. If you rush it, if it's really just up to you guys. It's up to you.
Right. It's building that repertoire between each other, right? I mean, I believe you said your practice is called Safe Space, right?
Yeah, safe space counseling.
Right. So if it's, already that word is very, very welcoming, right? I mean, you're telling them that they have a safe space. And so you're building that repertoire with them to make sure that they can trust you, right? Do you have like a certain, I know that you don't like to structure it so that it's, okay, we're going to talk about this today, this today. But do you have like a method or something that you utilize to help people through this trauma?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm ever growing, right? I'm still in the field, like still in the education. So I love learning about all different like modalities, interventions to utilize. So there's a lot that I have been able to study, thankfully. And then, so if a client would benefit more from a maybe cognitive behavioral therapy, I would be able to utilize that, or dialectical behavioral therapy, which is more utilizing coping skills and integrating that into like the changing of thought processes.
Oh, nice.
I do like something called affective therapy, which is really getting in tune with the person's emotions. I found that that's been very helpful with some of my clients who do struggle with like anxiety or depression, because a lot of the times as humans, like I said before, they're going to try to push away from that pain. And that's where substance use gets involved. That's where psychiatric symptoms, major depressive disorder, just these anxiety disorders, that's where they really come from, that pushing away the pain, not wanting to feel it. So I like to provide that space where we can open the box just a little bit, maybe feel these emotions a little bit, and in a safe spot. You're safe here. I'm not going to go tell anyone. So, that's been a very, very successful therapy for me. Just getting them to lean into the discomfort, getting them to get familiar with the feelings again, which has been very helpful.
Yeah, I think that's really helpful to like recognize and accept where you are. You know, a lot of people, like you said, are afraid of opening up and knowing that it is okay to be angry, and it is okay to
Yes.
be, you know, pissed off at someone you love, and it's okay to feel joy, because sometimes even people that have been through a lot, it's really hard for them to even experience joy. You know,
Absolutely.
especially, I don't know if you've noticed this, but even like through a grieving process, when somebody laughs for the first time after grieving, they
Yes.
feel guilty. Like, how can I be
Yes.
laughing
Shame.
right
Yeah.
now? Yeah. Yeah. Shame, right?
Absolutely.
Shame
Yeah,
is huge.
absolutely.
And shame, I think, has a lot to do with a lot of our anxiety and depression and stuff like that. Not everything, but it could be a lot that it
Yes.
portrays in those emotions, right?
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
working with your clients, um have you been like experiencing what it feels like to see breakthrough with your clients? Like,
Yes.
I know that when I mean, I have a different field than you. I do NLP work. So, and I coach, which is different than what you're doing. You're getting
Excellent.
into more the therapeutic of it. I'm trying to get people from here to there, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and instead of going like past and, you know, and so on. But
Absolutely.
I say all that to say, I just know like the amazing feeling that it is to see someone go from that point to the
Hmm.
breakthrough point, like the aha moment that they get, right?
Yes.
How is
Yes.
that for you?
I chase those. That's
Yeah,
what keeps me
it's a
in
great
this field.
answer.
It
Yeah,
really does. I
yeah.
think, and I hold on to one every session that I have with a client. I really do. And because it's like it's and the great part about it is like I I like to have in the forefront of my mind where I would like the client to go, you know, if
Mm-hmm.
based off of the presenting problems. But I don't like to say like this is where we're going, if that makes any
Right,
sense. You
right.
know,
It does.
I would like the client to get there on their own, because then it's more meaningful, and it sticks with them longer. So just so seeing those moments where I don't inadvertently give them the answer, but they come up with
Mm-hmm.
the answer on their own, is like, like yes, you know, like
Yeah, right.
just
Yeah,
great
yeah, yeah.
feelings. And I so I actually pride myself on the my ability to connect with people like in sessions. So I really try to build that rapport like fast, you know. So
Right, right, right.
so when I know I have somebody and that rapport is built, it's really like you could just tell, you know.
Yeah,
It's just the, like maybe it's the therapy intuition, but and I'm sure you know too, like how you
yeah,
connect with people, right? Like it's just
yeah,
it's a great thing when you're able to make that connection, because a lot of the times, a lot of the times they didn't have that, you know, and sometimes
right.
it's all they need, you know,
Yeah,
like that
it's
person
true.
to connect with,
It's true.
right?
That
So
that's what they need. That is very true. Now, do you ever find that there are people that maybe you don't connect with or that you can't help? Like, are you honest enough with yourself and with the client? Like, I don't know if we're the perfect fit, or do you try to make it work?
that's a great question. That's an absolute great question. um I try to think of like a client that I haven't been able to connect with. I haven't had one yet. Knock
Oh,
on wood.
that's good. That's really
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
So, but I love what you said about being honest, and especially like from a clinician standpoint. I think I know my strengths. You know, so
Right.
if I do have a client who, you know, that maybe, because there's different disorders that maybe
Right. Of
I'm not
course.
specializing in, and so that's where I would say, you know, I probably won't be able to work with you. I think you're more of this specialized, you need more of this specialization treatment. But with that, I would definitely love linking. I have background in case management, where it's just linking the services, so that's
Right.
also part of it too, like making sure that they're good, you know.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
anything.
That's
So
big. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, but regardless, I think finding those little things that you can help with. So like in the meantime, while you're trying to get that specialized person for you for treatment, can we talk? Maybe just, do you need someone, what's this like for you? You know, so like
Right.
how are you handling it? So just staying in the realm of what I can do. That's
Right.
another part of it.
That's going to serve you well as you have your own practice, because the last thing you want to do is be a disservice to them or you,
Absolutely.
right? And that is a
Absolutely.
trick that's very tricky for someone who is coaching, counseling, you know, all that kind of stuff, right? Because you want to help. I mean, that's why we get into the field, right? You get into the field because you want to help, and you get into the field because you like really are desiring seeing change in someone's life and impacting their life. But it's a very tricky part to get into when you're seeing that there's someone you can't really help or work with in that area. And then to admit it and say, I am actually not the specialist that you need for this particular thing. Right.
Yeah,
So that's going to be good.
Absolutely. And it's like it's like that in substance use too, you know. Sometimes they don't want the help at the time, you know. Everybody's on their own journey.
That's true.
So, you know, sometimes it's about letting them be on their journey. That's absolutely, I love that what you said before. Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree.
Yeah. And you know what you pointed out was really important with the substance abuse, because even when you have like a family who abuses substance, you want to help them so badly that you're trying to force it. And then when it doesn't, you get just, you as the person trying to help, you can get discouraged. You know, you get like, oh my gosh, maybe I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe I'm not good enough at this, right? I'm sure that can definitely be a problem.
Yeah, they say don't counsel family members. So they said not to do therapy.
Exactly.
And
I
that's
agree.
there's a book called Against Empathy. And it basically talks about that, because like going into this role, we have so much empathy. We want to help that person, like the family members, right? So, but sometimes we can go into enabling. We can go into enabling behaviors, and that's where that piece comes into play, especially with family. I mean, we see it all the time with family members, you know,
exactly.
unfortunately.
That's hard.
But it is hard. And that's the thing. It's hard. And that's why everybody needs, asking for help's not a bad thing.
Right. So do you believe that like I always say that every coach needs a coach, right? I always say that because I always feel like I cannot grow if I'm helping others grow, but I'm not growing myself. Like that doesn't work. So I always like have people in my life who are higher thinkers, they're coaches already, or they doing the things that I'm impacting the people that I'm working with. Right. So do you ever feel like, that's a fair assessment? Like, do you always feel like that you will need to have people that you go to that are maybe at maybe more advanced in their studies, or their teachers, or their, you know, what do you feel about that?
I 100% subscribe to the notion that therapists need therapists.
Oh yeah, me too.
Absolutely. Yeah, because and I love that, like always learning, being in that position of always learning. So having a mentor, having a mentee to learn from, both. I 100% agree, because we can't carry it alone too, you know, like secondary trauma is a really real thing as well. And that's where, through lived experience of others, you kind of take it on to yourself. So you need someone to unload it to, you know.
I agree.
You know, and I'm sure as you with working with people too, it's a very like, you're very giving of yourself, you know, so you feel that energy, you know. So it's I totally agree. Yes. Keeping also colleagues, you know, talking about experience, sharing, like, where do you think about, and then so many times it's I've had a colleague say, oh, I tried this with a client going through the kind of same stuff that and then you learn something new, and you could try it with that client. So
well, that's how you grow, I think, right? I mean, when you think you know
Absolutely.
everything, then you know you don't know anything. Because I'm telling you, Noel, when you start to get older, you realize you know nothing. You know nothing, and you're just trying to learn. You know, like you realize you're not the end all be all of everything. At least I used to think so, but I'm not anymore.
As I'm growing up, I'm finding out, just fake it till you make it type of thing.
Yeah. Oh, that's so funny. So let me ask you this before we start ending this, because I do like everything that you're, you know, talking about, especially the safe space part, and the fact that you are constantly evolving yourself, which I really admire, because you're going for your doctorate and you're doing all of that. Meanwhile, you're still helping people in the process. And I think that's super important, right? Because you can stop right now and then just be like, oh, I can't help anyone because I got to finish up school, but you're not. You are actually doing some work while you're doing school. And why do I say that's important is because sometimes we wait ourselves out of it. We wait ourselves out of helping others, or we wait ourselves out of opportunities, you know, because we're just waiting. right?
Absolutely.
Like the same thing with me. I'm getting my master's in the NLP work. And as I'm getting my NLP master's, I'm thinking, oh, I'll just wait till I'm done with my NLP master's to start my practice. If I would have done that, I would not be able to help the people that I'm helping right now and seeing them thrive and grow. So kudos to you for stepping out in the midst of your growth. That's amazing, right?
Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's
Thank
amazing.
you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So the one thing I want you to, or maybe one or two tips or whatever you have, but I would love for you to tell my audience or people that are listening, if they are in the midst of dealing with trauma or dealing with some like substance abuse or something in their mind that they are dealing with, what's like the first or second tip or step you can tell them to take to start their recovery process, or to start to at least explore that?
Absolutely. Great question, by the way.
Thank you.
I think by the fact of them like looking for resources, like even this podcast, which like great information that it comes with, like that's the first step. You know what I mean? Like just being curious of the things you feel
That's
uncomfortable about. You know what I mean? Like that is where I think just continuing to explore that curiousness, like you said, like what we were talking about, through uncomfortableness is where we grow.
Right.
So and then also knowing that there's help out there, you don't have to struggle alone, whether and find somebody that you really click with, that you feel comfortable, like whether it be a professional or even somebody in your social network and where you're around. Just everybody needs somebody to talk to, and spend time with. So
I agree.
And if not, reach out. My credentials will be in the bio.
Yep, it
And
will
I
be.
would love to. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I love that, right? I love that listening to this podcast or a podcast of mental health or anything like that would be the first step. Curious, to be curious about
Absolutely
getting better, right? Or at least of seeking help. And I love that you said that, because I think that a lot of people think it's bigger than that. Like they need to do a way more, and that's not true, right? I am, even like I was on my social media, I don't know, like 3 or 4 weeks ago. I was really struggling with something, and I just went on there and I didn't tell people what it was, but all I said was, can you guys just pray for me, because I'm really struggling. And the amount of people that reached out and DM me and message me and I'm like, wow, I didn't realize what a beautiful connected family I have out there on this podcast and on this YouTube channel, right?
Absolutely.
Where these people really do care about me. And people like you that I interview on the show, we end up becoming very close, because we build something right now with our conversation with each other and realizing that we're like-minded, right? And so when I have a lot of these, people that come onto my show as yourself, I realize that there's a deeper connection that can be formulated amongst human beings, right?
Absolutely.
So do you, when you have your practice, I'm going to put all of your information in the show notes, but do you do this as well virtually, or are you expecting to see people only face to face?
Both. The great part about this pandemic has opened a new space for this virtual and being able, right, and being able to reach so many people. So the slogan is meeting you where you are. So yeah, whatever you're comfortable with, whether in person or video, perfectly fine.
I love that.
Absolutely.
Meeting you where you are, and it's safe space counseling.
Yes.
Beautiful. Yes. Very well done, Noel. I think I think a lot of people are going to find you extremely charming, on top of being handsome. So that's a plus.
And nervous. And nervous.
And nervous. That's okay. Everybody gets nervous. But I love that you're working on helping people and helping others. I'm just huge on that. Like for me, it's about impacting the world and leaving it a better place than when I came in it. Right. Absolutely. And so, and also like really speaking my truth in mind. And that's why this is called Straight Talk. And so that my grandchildren and my grandchildren's children can also speak the truth, like that's what it's about at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
So before I wrap it up, I want you to give us your credentials, since you mentioned them, the name of your beautiful practice, and maybe your email or phone number, anything like that, where people can contact you, please.
Absolutely. So the best place to reach me is Psychology Today. Just put in Noel Tola and then my profile will come up. I'm currently under, my website is currently under construction, but
Okay.
when it's ready, it'll also be on the Psychology Today. And then, but if, please email me. My email is no517@hotmail.com. And my phone number is 561-222-7402. And please reach out.
Yeah. Yeah. Please reach out, guys, because if you are struggling with any kind of trauma or anything like that, or even just speaking to him about what kind of therapy you can get, I
Absolutely.
think it would be very, very helpful. And it's not going to hurt to have a
Absolutely.
phone call. It's just not going to hurt to have a phone call. You know, you'd be
Absolutely.
surprised how much help and work you can get out of it. I mean, even for me, like I said, like there's a lot of people that coach me or that
Mhm.
mentor me, you know,
Yes.
why?
Yes.
Because I reached out. I mean, it was really that easy.
Absolutely.
I just reached
Absolutely.
out. I'm like, I love your
Agreed.
content. I love what you're doing. You know, what are you doing about X? And then before you know it, we were on a phone call. We became friends, and my network has
Absolutely.
expanded. Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yes.
great
Exactly. I
job.
agree. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Thank
Thank you
you
so
for
much for
being
having me
here.
again.
Absolutely.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for being here. And guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to share, subscribe, and make sure that you leave a comment below. I'll make sure to put all of Noel's information below so that you can reach him, email him, call him, go into Psychology Today and see his profile there. Because you know what? We are all in this together. We're in this pandemic together. We're in this world together. Okay. So let's support one another. And I hope that you really do reach out and not think that it's so scary, because honestly, it is not. It is more scary to stay in that same state for the rest of your life when there's so much opportunity to get the help that you need. So thank you guys so much for being here. This is Neena Perez, and this is Straight Talk, no sugar added. Until next time.